Thank you very much, Emmanuel, for this breathtaking outline of the complicated situation that you have to work in. I would suggest that if everybody who is present here today would bring his family to the Virunga, so to say, in the following 2 years, then the tourism would quickly pick up again. The word would spread that it's safe to go to visit the lodge in Virunga National Park, and so maybe you could start working again with the income of tourism rather than from other sources. Thank you also for bringing in the Congolese, who are doing all the hard work in the field, because this evening we only have Belgians to talk about the work in the field, which is also important because Belgium has a long tradition of working in the parks in the Congo and continues today. And the first one will give his impressions on what he has experienced in Virunga is Marc Languy. He's a Belgian biologist who has worked for more than 25 years now in all kinds of African countries, from Gabon to the Congo. He's also the co-editor, together with Emmanuel, of the Virunga book that is also on sale here after on the walking dinner. There's a table with the book where you can find the book, a fantastic book with all the pictures of everything that matters to Virunga. He has also for many years a sort of on and off relationship with WWF. He has been their program director for the Central African Regional Program, but now today he will talk about his experiences in Virunga. Marc Languy.
Well, I must say it's always a challenge to talk after Emmanuel, not just because my English is not as good as yours or Tanguy's, but also because my childhood was fine. I don't have anything to heal. The only thing I can say, maybe at a personal touch, is that I happened to marry my wife, obviously, in Virunga National Park in Windy 20 years ago. The challenge there at that time was not to hide and be cautious of being shot when you move back from Mabenga to Windy. The challenge there was to wait for lions to move away from the swimming pool, so that at 4 o'clock after your wedding party, you can go safely. These were the days 20 years ago, and my wish, my personal wish, is that I never managed to bring any of my 4 kids to Windy. They're asking me every year, Dad, when are we going to go where you and Mom married? And I told Emmanuel, one day you will bring me there with my kids. So far it's not possible. I'm optimistic. I know I will bring them. Maybe one of them will marry in your lodge. I'm sure you'll make a prize for me. More seriously, I think the challenge to talk after Emmanuel is that he brings such a vibrant testimony that you really want to step back, reflect. And the first question that jumped to mind is it worth it? Why is it that so many people are dedicated to the park? Why so many people in this room? Why these rangers risk their life every day? Why is the European Union and other donors so committed to this very unique place? So what's so special? Why is Virunga National Park so important? That's what I'm trying to tackle with you now. But before that, I would like to, if I know how to work, yes, I'm colorblind, so there's a green one and a red one, I guess. Yeah. I'd like to put first the bigger picture and explain a bit. As you know that, we all know that Virunga is indeed in Central Africa, in the Congo-basin, a huge part of our single planet, as you can see. Still a lot of forest, getting emptied, but still a lot of forest, still a lot of viable population of wildlife, many protected areas. And WWF, like any organization, recognizes that it's just impossible to do everything everywhere. So like any organization, WWF tries to invest their effort, their human resources, their financial resources, the most strategic way possible. Very quickly, what we do is to identify key species, priority species, and these ones are 2 types of species. What we call the keystone species, like elephants, because by eating food and fruit in the forest, they allow trees to reproduce. Without them, the forest will die. Another type of species, of course, the gorillas, because they are flagship species. They bring us together. And by protecting mountain gorillas, you protect chameleons, you protect monkeys, you protect orchids, whatever. You protect the entire forest. A second way to work is for us to identify those very special places. these places that are so unique that they have many, many species of animals and plants. So by protecting those special places, you protect a wide range of biodiversity. There are a few of them in the world where we work. We call them priority places through global initiative. And one of them is Central Africa. We call it Green Heart of Africa. And finally, we work on key drivers for biodiversity. Virunga, like any protected area, works not in isolation. It is part of the dynamic, social dynamic, economical dynamics, political dynamics. New drivers of deforestation, new drivers of biodiversity loss are coming. So we work on these key drivers. It could be palm oil, which is a key issue in Central Africa now. It could be mining, logging, or at least unsustainable logging. It could be oil, indeed, simply. So as far as Congo-basin is concerned, I mentioned to you this Green Heart of Africa initiative. Well, the species we focus on are great apes and elephants. Well, immediately you think about Virunga. After all, Virunga is the only place, the only protected area in the world with 3 taxa of great apes: the mountain gorilla, the eastern lowland gorillas, and the chimpanzee. We then select landscapes. These are huge chunks of land where we work not just on protected areas, but we look at their surrounding, the communities, the economic activities around the protected areas to make sure that we don't work just on protected areas and forgetting about the people around them. And we work on 17 such protected areas, of which, of course, Virunga is the very top one. These are the landscapes where we work. There are 9 of them in the Congo-basin, and you will see that Virunga is one, together with the adjacent Rwanda. In Rwanda, the Volcano National Park and Bwindi National Park, because of mountain gorillas. So here we are in Virunga, at the edge of the Congo-basin. Technically, I think you know that Virunga National Park is part of the Congo-basin, but it's also part of the Nile Basin, because 90% of the water of Virunga ends up in Egypt. So I mentioned the species, the landscapes, and finally the key drivers. I mentioned mining, oil and gas, unsuitable logging, palm oil, etc. Well, we discuss oil. I did not plan to discuss oil tonight, but just a quick word on that, because indeed it is an emerging issue. Many people bring that under the angle of sovereignty. Do the Congolese people have the right to know what's in the ground, to exploit it? Of course, yes. It's not a question of sovereignty. To be a bit provocative, I will say, well, let's imagine that one day Egypt discover oil underneath the pyramids. Well, they could slam the door to UNESCO. They could decide to blow up the pyramids and exploit oil. No one would say you are not allowed to do that. If you really want to have the world community against you, if you want to finish with tourism, you can be short-sighted and do it. It's just the same. Virunga is also a world religious site. Virunga has oil, maybe, maybe not, we are not sure. But what we're sure is that it will never be forever. It will end one day, while tourism could continue forever. So the issue is not the right of the people to exploit or not, it's a question of option, it's a question of choice. Our work is to make sure that the civil society is aware of the different options which is offered to them, and think with them, okay, what's at stake? Well, there is fishing, there is tourism, there is water flow, there is climate change, there is whatever there is. Let's think about what's there if we drill oil, if we don't drill oil. And together with the civil society, we try to bring them at the table of negotiation, because it's all about dialogue. Some individuals, I'm not talking about the government, but some individuals have stakes in oil in Virunga, that we know. So the question is to bring these people together at the same table, discuss, and just as Eman was saying, let's look for options, better options, long-term options, options that will bring economic benefits to the local people and not just to people in Kinshasa. Is the oil going to be drilled and then exported directly through Uganda, or is it going to be transformed locally and derive jobs? We know the answer. So back to our unique place. I think you've seen many images, many pictures. Part of my job is actually to discuss with ministers, with local chiefs, with donors, and it's a good part of my job, I must say, to convince them that all these places we have seen are so important that they deserve attention and they deserve support. And when it comes to Virunga, well, I always a big smile, because Virunga is actually so easy, so to speak, to show how unique it is, how important it is. You have seen all these places, extinct volcanoes, you have seen active volcanoes, you have seen this plain of the Windy, the forest of the Semliki, the Wenzori, exactly the same picture as Eman. Probably we were together. And of course, unique wildlife. And sometimes I just want to stop there. And I want to stop and say, well, don't you get it? Isn't it obvious? Sometimes I just want to say, this is just enough to show you that this is a unique place. Why is it so difficult to understand that this place has something to offer us more than short-term benefits, more than war, something much more beneficial for the world humanity and for the Congolese people? But of course, that's not enough. I'm convinced, I hope you are convinced, but from a more scientific angle, I'm sure there are bird watchers in this room. I see at least one or two, or ornithologists, and they will know there are about 200 species of birds in Belgium. 300 species that you can see in Belgium if you take the lost one, the vagrants from US. While in Virunga alone, there are 703 species. More than 3 times more than the entire Belgium, more than the entire Europe. In terms of animals, 200 species of mammals. That's again more than the entire European continent. We mentioned monkeys, we mentioned apes, 22 species of monkeys. There's just very, very few places on Earth with so many monkeys and great apes. This is baby Ndeki, I think. One of the mountain gorillas. Each of them have got a name given through the local tradition there. This is an eastern lowland gorillas, and this is a chimps, the 3 great apes I was mentioning. Then you have the wildlife that we know, the cubs, the lions, and so on, the elephants. I'm not going to go and continue giving you a lecture on how many amphibians there are, how many insects, or how many of them are endemics known from that place. That could take 1 hour. Just trust me, this place is unique. If you rank the 10 top protected areas in Central Africa, or actually in the whole Africa, from there to there, Virunga is 1, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. It is a truly unique place. And maybe that's not the best picture, but it's maybe the best summary of Virunga National Park. This variety of life, this variety of wildlife, this variety of scenery, and variety of services, environmental services that we discussed already today. A key feature of Virunga National Park is, now if you look at outside the boundaries, this is a map of Virunga that you recognize here. And these are the protected areas in Uganda and Rwanda which are directly connected to Virunga. You will see that Virunga, by its sheer size, forms the backbone of a huge complex of transboundary protected areas. 300 kilometers. So if this is Ostend or Newport, well, this will be Arlen. And Brussels is here. And Brussels had Vilvoorde as well, by the way. That would be a good way to solve some problems in Belgium. It is big, it is interconnected. What it means that by the time there was war in Uganda and peace in Zaire at that time, elephants could move from Uganda to Zaire. Hippos could move from Uganda to Zaire. Now it's the reverse. There have been wars in Congo, and elephants have a chance to flee into Queen Elizabeth in Uganda and find a safe place. So maintaining this connectivity is important not just for Virunga, but for the entire set of protected areas. So it is important for Rwanda too. It is important for Uganda. So it is also an element of peace building in the region. Virunga is also very unique, and that's the only place with Mount Cameroon, I believe, where you have a continuum forest from 600 meters to 4,000 meters on the Wenzori in one block. That's critical for climate change adaptation, whereby species can move up and down according to increase and decrease of temperature. Water is a key element. Emmanuel explained how important water is in many ways. We have to know that microclimates are really, really unique in Virunga. You have the wettest place not on Earth, but in Congo, in Rumangabo, where Emmanuel is based. That's about 3 meters high, 3 meters of water every year. So for those of you complaining in Brussels to have 700 millimeters, just go there, you'll see what rain is. Interestingly, 60 kilometers away from Wenzori, where we have the same rainfall, is the driest place of the Republic. So we have unique microclimates, and this is critical for people living out of agriculture, because this regulates the local climate, not just because of the relief, but also because of the maintenance of the forest, which keeps the moisture and brings the rain for the next day. So a critical service of the park is for maintaining these banana fields that you see here and beans. I will go quickly through this because we have the same mind, Emmanuel and I. This was built, as Emmanuel mentioned, with funding from the European Union, and this is a critical service for the local population. Emmanuel mentioned that this dam will provide electricity to Mutwanga. Mutwanga is a place where you have a large hospital. I happened to be treated there once, and believe me, you want to see electricity there to see how they sterilize the equipment. You want electricity when a baby is born there. You want the doctors to see when they have to heal someone. So getting electricity is a question of survival for people too. No park, no forest. No forest, no river. No river, no dam. No dam, no electricity. Water again for fish. Again, we discussed the sustainable fishing there. One has to know that 15,000 tons of fish is produced by the lake every year. 15,000 tons of fish every year. At $2 a kilo, that's $30 million US. $30 million US worth of fish produced by the park in that lake only. How do you compare that with the $200,000 or $300,000 a year that SOCO is planning to give to the local communities? These are the tilapia, the musticos as we call them. I'm sure many of you, or some of you have stated that, and we'll go there. This is provided hippos remain. This is a hippo indeed. No hippos, very low fertility in the lake, and very few fish. Tourism has been discussed, so I'll just go through that. That's another service of the park. And I would like to finish by asking these two questions. Once you see this tourism being developed, the governor of North Kivu will start thinking, well, this is bringing revenues. There are taxis, hotels being built, visitors coming. People in Kinshasa also will think, okay, $1 million US produced in 2010, half of it going to Kinshasa. And if it is 10 million, it will be 5 million in Kinshasa and so on. So people in Kinshasa will start thinking about Virunga, also important to them, not just to us here. And if Mr. Paluku in Bunia or Butembo wakes up in the morning and goes to the village, he has to decide with his axe, what do I do? Do I chop down that tree or do I leave it? I believe that if, thanks to the ICCN, the rangers, the European Union and other donors, building schools, building dams, building dispensaries, I think Mr. Paluku will think twice before he cuts the trees, because he will know that his kid is in that school, because maybe his son is a guide for the tourist, because his wife is maybe delivering in Mutwanga, which has electricity. Being aware is one thing. Having an alternative is the second thing. And the alternative will be discussed by Geert just now, so I will leave the floor to Geert. I would like to finish by showing you these kids whose dad is doing charcoal, these schools, and this beautiful elder lady. And I would like you tonight, maybe think about it. Maybe you can do something. Talk about Virunga National Park. Support individuals, institutions, governments questioning oil development. support European Union developing the North Kivu, and talk with your friends and go to wwf.be and maybe become a member and support the park. But also, I would like you to visit gorilla.cd. Eman is way too much humble. He did not discuss with you this wonderful website that his team is developing with news every day. You can follow the rangers, you know what's happening, you can support the widows, you can give some money for rations, you will make a difference. You can act from Belgium, there is no way. And of course, you are invited to the weddings of my son in Wendy. Thank you.